Okay, so we can probably get started here. Hello, I am Nick, and I will be talking to you today about Snapchat lenses. Um, so if you wish to participate in this, at the very end there will be a very small demo. There is a software to download called Lens Studio. It's quite a large software, so I'm giving you a long time to download it. At this link. Also, I'd recommend you go on dsuprog.club and open up the meeting on there, because then it'll show up in our attendance, and it also lets you see this and ask questions. So before we get started, the International Collegiate Programming Competition is coming up. It's pretty fun, pretty cool. Everybody's doing it. This year, they're not limiting entries, so everybody can do it. Here's their website. If you want to join, it's teams of 3, and you can just send your team name, participant names, and t-shirt size to Austin, and he'll set up the team. You also gotta create an account on ICPC's website. So now to the meat and potatoes of this whole operation. What is a Snapchat lens? So first of all, it's augmented reality. So you've got your camera and you've got a computer alongside that camera, and that's what we call a phone. And since it has a camera and a computer, it can do some cool stuff where you take virtual stuff and make it look like it's interacting with real stuff. But a Snapchat lens, as you may have known or guessed, is in Snapchat. And so the benefits to that are that it's like easy to share and very accessible to lots of people. And it also gives it like a platform that's already widely available without having to have some weird obscure app or something that you gotta download. It's just like one of the more popular apps, I would say. And also it uses JavaScript, or rather you write code for them in JavaScript, which is pretty cool, pretty neat. Allows you to do some cool things. Pretty easy. So I make Snapchat lenses. Here are some of the ones that I've made. This is a sculpting lens that uses the Marching Cubes algorithm to create a mesh based on where you draw with that little pointer in the center here. I also made a Minecraft lens where you can build things, and this is a clone of the 3DS game Face Invaders. Or no, I called mine Face Invaders. I forgot what theirs is called. But anyways, it's a clone of a 3DS game where you put your head inside a helmet and then shoot at it. And it's got a little radar thing. And I'll show those more a bit later. Now you may be asking, Nick, why did you do this? And that is a story that I'm gonna tell you now. So like in high school, I noticed that there was a Ugandan Knuckles Snapchat lens. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. Snapchat wouldn't ever make that. That means that you can make Snapchat lenses. So I did. And I was like, hey, cool, this looks like a game engine. I'm gonna make a game with it. So I made a Flappy Bird. And that got I forgot how many exactly, but it got over 1 million views, and that was pretty cool. And then later on, I found out that they had this program called the Official Lens Creator Program, where basically you apply to it and they're all like, hey, do you make good stuff? And you're all like, yeah. And then they're all like, cool, we think you do too. Or they're like, no, we don't. But with me they said cool. And so there are some various perks to that, like beta access to the software and stuff like that. But the main thing is that every year they hold a thing called Lens Fest. And it's an event that it's like one of those, like a conference or a summit where all the people involved with the thing go to one place, and then there are different presentations that people do, but the main reason to have it is just to like talk with all the other people in that field from around the world. And so I got flown out to that 2 times, and then this past year they did it online. So this was the first year that they did it. I'm right here in the white shirt, can't really see. And then the second year I got an award. They were supposed to send a trophy, but it never arrived in the mail. But so this is my proof that I won it, and that was for the Minecraft one. And so now we move on to part 2, which is the actual Snapchat stuff. So first, I'm gonna continue the demo, or try to. I've got something set up here to try to mirror my phone screen, but that may or may not work. Okay, so I set up some paper because this surface is really smooth, so it's not very good for tracking. So I was having issues earlier. Set up the paper to make it more detailed. So this is the sculpting one, and I had some issues with the UI trying to make it something that's intuitive, so I haven't actually released this yet. But basically, you draw around, and then it pauses a bit, and then creates the thing, and you can do different colors. And this part uses the Material Editor graph, which is basically a graph-based shader editor for those of you aware of graphics programming. It's pretty in-depth, and so for this part I just have this center area made so that it changes to be based on the right area, so it's not just like an image, it's generated from what color it actually is. Yeah, so then you've got draw and erase, and this is like a 2D array of points and stuff, and then it generates it based on the Marching Cubes algorithm. You got your different sizes. You can draw a circle. And then let's move on over to this. This is the actual software that you use to make Snapchat lenses. There's a whole bunch of templates and stuff, and there's also on their website there is there's a whole bunch of different guides, and there's the documentation here. It's really well documented, one of the better documented programs I've worked with. So like these are all just guides for all of these different things. You've got the material editor that I was talking about. They have machine learning, which I'll get into a bit, but not too much since I haven't actually done it. They have both scripting in JavaScript and visual scripting with a node editor. And yeah, and then for the more technical side of things, you've got the API here, and you can go in and see these are all the methods and what they return. Here's a browse lowered event for when you want to detect that someone lowers their eyebrows. So let's just hop into the Minecraft one. It's taking a while because it's a pretty large project. Okay. So there's kind of a lot of windows here, but basically on this left side here you've got the object view and the resource view, or panel or something. This is just the list of everything that's in the scene. You've got your camera, your orthographic camera, which is for the UI, all the lighting and stuff, and any objects that you place in here. And then this is all of the models and textures and materials down here, and the scripts are also here. I have a whole bunch of images of letters for a keyboard that's in this. Then this is the 3D scene. You place things here and they show up here, but where they show up here depends on the tracking. This is the logs that shows all the errors and stuff. Then the inspector over here is contextual to whatever you've selected. Most of the time it'll have this transform box because most things have a transform component on them. And then the other tab of this is the script editor, which I gotta open a script to see it. Let's see, where is the main script? Here it is. So most of it is just normal JavaScript, but then you've got the different get transforms and stuff like that. I'll talk a bit more about that later. It's got nice highlighting and also code completion, which is a fairly recent addition. And then on the far right here, and I'll expand this out to make it more visible, you've got the preview, and you can interact with this as if it were running on Snapchat on your phone, but you can't like move around in the virtual scene, so for a lot of mine it's not that useful. But all of the clicking stuff you can do, and there's different previews for different scenarios. So if you've got something that needs a cat, you've got a cat there. If you're tracking an image marker, then here's a video of an image. You can also upload your own videos. You can use the webcam, which I don't have set up. And you can do this, which I think is for LiDAR, which is Apple's new scanning technology. I don't know how that works. I've never used it, but it looks cool. You can simulate the front and back cameras by switching with this button over here. You can refresh. And now I'm just going to do a quick overview of the bonkers amount of features that this program has. So if you go into objects here, the things that you can add directly into the scene, you've got empty objects, you've got screen image and text, cameras and lights and stuff. You can add images into the 3D scene, you can add particles, a liquefy effect, you can track objects or markers. You can also do location tracking for certain places like the Eiffel Tower, so you can point it at the Eiffel Tower and make it do stuff with that. You can have it cut out your hand so you can put stuff partially behind your hand. This is just a bunch of stuff that's for ease of use for you, so like the Tween Manager helps you make things smoother in animations. You've got post effects, color correction, all these primitives, bunch of different face effects. Onto resources. You've got so many different types of textures from various different things, like a crop of the screen, a crop of your face. I don't know what a proxy texture is, but there's text texture for if you want text on an object. You can get the texture of your face. You can also have a camera render to a render target and use that as a texture on your object. And that can get pretty wild if you use that a lot. Then you've got your meshes again, but then you've got a whole bunch of different types of materials, including graphs. And now we go into the material editor, which is basically, if you've ever used GLSL with OpenGL, this is basically that, but in graph form. So you can add nodes. There's all these different math things. I don't know what it all does. I haven't used it that much, but it's cool that it's there. And there's probably a bunch of guides to do a bunch of different things. There's also presets somewhere in here. I think that was just when adding it here. Yeah, I think that's mostly it for this section. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. Like, you add the machine learning component to the thing, or you can... This thing changes your eye color. Let's make it red. And there, now our eyes are red. But you can also do this programmatically so that the eye color changes based on some whatever you want it to be. I don't know what necessarily that would be based on different things, but you could have your eye color change to reflect some aspect of a game that you have making the... I don't know. It's just... You can just access all of these different things from scripts, which kind of opens this up to be even more absurd with how much you can do. And so now... Oh, and then also, when you before you submit the lens to Snapchat, if you want to try it on your device, up here you can send it to your device. And let's switch over to my phone screen here. So there it's sent. And now I've got the Minecraft. So, oh, I think I messed up the... Yeah, I messed something up when I was messing around with all the different features, but yeah, you've got the blocks here. Whoops. Yeah, I can't click on... Oh, I can click on the menu. I just have to try hard enough. So to this I added a save and load thing, because something I forgot to mention is that it also has persistent storage, so you can store small amounts of data in between sessions. So earlier I built a house. Here is that house. It's pretty cool. Now it's more of a house, or less, depending on how you feel about adding logs to the side of houses. And then also you get debug information on here when you're previewing a lens. So you get the FPS, the RAM usage, the size of the lens, which probably doesn't really need to be on the thing here because that won't change. Or will it? I don't know. I think it won't. But anyways, yeah, I think I'm gonna turn this over to questions real quick, and then back to a demo, and then questions again, just in case there are more questions. So does anybody have questions? About anything I mentioned? Okay, so I'm going to move on to the demo then. So let's just make a new blank project, although you could use one of these many templates. Oh, also one more thing to mention is that the machine learning is like normal machine learning, like you use a Google Colab, or you can use a Google Colab ICPY whatever file, and to do all of these different types of things, like a style transfer or object detection. So this is what it looks like when you don't have a whole bunch of crap lining the sides of everything. So to start, what we're gonna do with this is we're gonna create a ball, we're gonna place it in a scene, and we're gonna have it go up and down. So since we're in a scene, we're gonna want the other view. So now we're on a beach, or we can be at Cactus. And so then we add a ball by going into Objects, Add New Object. And you can search for mesh and it'll do the mesh area, or you can do ball and it'll be an eyeball, or a sphere and it'll be what we actually want. So now there's a sphere here, but it's not in the scene, it's just in the camera. So what we need to do is we need to add a tracking component to our camera. So if we go in here and we search tracking, what we want is device tracking, because it's tracking where the camera is in 3D space. And we do want surface tracking probably, because it'll be pretty close to the ground. And as you can see, it shows up there. Now you can do stuff with like occluders and shaders and stuff to get it to have a shadow on the real ground, but I'm not going to do that because that's a bit excessive for the purpose of having an overly simple demo. So now we need to get this ball to go up and down. So we need a script on the ball, or we could do different ways, but since this is Programming Club, it's a script, a JavaScript. So then I clicked on Add Script to add a script to that. But we don't have any scripts right now, so you gotta create a script. So you click on Resources plus Script. If you don't want to program for some reason, there's the script graph is here, but we're kicking it old school. So then what we're going to do for this is we're going to make it so that the code in here is triggered on every single frame. So we're going to go to frame updated. And this is also how you can do different events, so like having it happen when you tap anywhere on the screen, or when it sees a face, or when that face opens their mouth. but we're just doing frame updated. So if we open up the script, and let's call this up and down. So the way that you access the location of the object is you go into script to get the script object. Then you can do a get scene object to get the object that the script is attached to. Then you do .get transform. Then from there you do .get local position, or potentially world position depending on what you need, but usually either are interchangeable. And since that's really long, we're going to store that as a variable. So we're going to say var pos equals that. Now with our up and down code, we're going to need a variable that's stored in between the individual frame update calls. And the way we're going to do that is by adding, I forgot what it's called, but it basically adds a variable attached to the script component itself. And to do that, you add a comment to the top of the code, and then you do @input, and then you say the type, and we're going to use an int, and let's call it direction. So now we have the position, and we have what direction it's going, or we have a variable to store the direction it's going. So we're going to constrain its position, so let's say if pos.y, which is its up and down direction, if that's greater than 60, we're going to make the direction be negative. And since it's a script variable and not a variable variable, you got to do script.direction. That's one of the things I more frequently forget when writing these. And let's set that to -1. And then we're doing else if it is less than 0, let's say, because where it's at currently is 0, and that's technically slightly in the ground right now, but it doesn't look like it because it doesn't know where to occlude the ground. So if that's less than 0, then switch the direction back to positive. And then, no matter what, we're going to make it move in that direction. So let's copy this transform part over here. And now instead of get local position, we're doing set local position. And for this, and set local position, let's see, I need to, so as you can see here, set local position takes a vec3, which is a vector of 3 numbers. And the way that you do those, or the way you create one of those, is by saying new vec3 and then giving the 3 numbers as parameters to that function. So let's go with pos.x, pos.y, pos.z. So now it's setting it to its current position. So let's add script.direction. And now, let's see, where'd the, okay. Now I think that should be it, but it's still not working, and that is because we need to set this variable. And this is set on the individual instances of the script. So if you have this attached to multiple objects, let's just create another one here. If you've got another sphere over here, if you're following along, you don't have to do this part. This also has one of these, but they can each have their own starting direction. So now they're going different directions, or at least they start out by going in different directions. But yeah, so once you set this from 0 to 1, it should be doing that. Now, if anyone was following along with that, does anybody have any questions about that? Questions that you can either say through the Discord or send to the dsuprog.club/questions or dsuprog.club/meeting, and then open the meeting and then send the question there. Hearing none, I'm gonna end this here, I think. Oh, these synced up, that's weird. Anyways, yeah, make a Snapchat lens, they're cool.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna close this stream by building something in Minecraft.
Nice. I don't know if you can hear me clapping, but I'm trying to. My mic doesn't pick it up very well.
Thanks for the claps. I got those claps.
There we go. Appreciate that.
Where'd the block go?
Take care.
Oh, there it is. Yay. There we go. There is the closing house. Gonna end the stream.